Hi everyone, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining the 5th edition of our virtual Women Techsters Open Day program. I'm super excited. We've gone from one edition to the 5th edition and many more to come. So I'm super excited and I'm glad to have everyone here. We're elated to have women from across Africa join us today to learn about how to pursue their interest in technology. So we have women from Ghana, from Egypt, from Nigeria, from Kenya, from South Africa, and probably from other countries that I'm not even quite aware about, but we're super excited and elated to have you all here. So for starters, Tech for Dev is a non-profit organization that creates access to decent work and entrepreneurship opportunities and platforms for Africans through digital skills, empowerment, and advocacy. Our vision is to equip Africans with digital and life skills that foster economic prosperity, financial freedom, and sustainable development. The Women Techsters is an initiative of Tech for Dev in partnership with Microsoft that aims to bridge the digital divide between men and women in the technology ecosystem. Through our pilot program, the Nigerian Women Techsters, we have enabled almost 3,000 women between the ages of 16 to 40 across Nigeria to ignite interest in pursuing careers and businesses in technology. Driven by the success story of numerous women on the program, we've carved a new ambition and a dream to replicate this model across Africa, providing more women access to opportunities to launch their careers in technology. Our dream by 2030 is to reach 5 million women in Africa by empowering them with the knowledge and skills to partake in the technology industry in Africa and the world at large. We believe that empowering change for women across Africa, as well as providing them opportunities to access employment and entrepreneurship, would help achieve a 50-50 male to female ratio balance in the technology space. The Women Techsters Open Day is a monthly virtual program organized for women across Africa to learn about leveraging the power of technology to start and advance their careers, and also create technology and technology-enabled businesses. The Open Day is an opportunity for women to interact with other successful women who have built careers or businesses in technology over the years and who will share their personal experiences, speak about possible career paths and business opportunities, as well as help women appreciate the importance of acquiring digital and deep tech skills in this digital age. We would like to appreciate Microsoft. They've been a huge and wonderful partner for collaborating with us to bring this initiative to life. And we look forward to impacting and improving the economic realities of women across Africa. I would once again like to appreciate everyone for being here today to commence your journey to becoming women in tech. And I would also like to say a big thank you to Mona, to Joy, and also to Lizette for being here today as our speakers. And I look forward to a wonderful conversation. Thank you all, and over to you, Joy.
Thank you very much, Dura. And in case you're just joining us, that was Dura Ladipo, the Executive Director at Tech for Dev. As an organization, we're taking steps to address the gender disparities in African tech ecosystem, and we want to see more women, venture into tech, acquire technical skills, and get the jobs. Yeah, because there are actually opportunities out there, but if you do not know, you would not be rightly positioned to get these jobs. Okay, so shortly after now, we'll be having a fireside chat between our industry experts, guest speakers, and it's going to be moderated by Joy Bii. But before I call them up, I'll be reading up their bios. So I'll be starting with Joy Bii. Joy Bii is currently a technical program manager at Microsoft, and she's based in Nairobi, Kenya. She has over 4 years experience in software engineering, system architecture, and program management. Joy holds a BSc in Mathematics and Computer Science from Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, and a certification in Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning from Dartmouth University. She has worked as a DevOps engineer and system architect, and more recently as an IT solution architect at Safaricom PLC, a leading telecommunications company in Kenya. In 2018, Joy was honored by OK Africa as one of the 100 Women of Excellence in Africa. And in 2019, she was listed by Cosmopolitan South Africa as one of the 25 women under 25 making their mark in Africa. Joy is passionate about mentorship and she currently serves as part of the management team at Kamilimu, a structured mentorship platform for tech-inclined university students in Kenya. She's also very intent on inspiring more women and girls to take up careers in tech. And she's going to be moderating a session. We also have Mona Saleh on the panel, and Lizette Spangenberg. So I'll be reading out Mona's bio. Mona Saleh is a senior data scientist at CIB Egypt, the largest private sector bank in Egypt, and she was one of the first members and pioneers in the team. Currently, she leads a team of data scientists. She works on end-to-end data science models, engages in data analysis and modeling exercises, and works hand in hand with stakeholders to derive actionable insights and add value. Mona holds a bachelor's degree in computer science and 2 postgraduate diplomas in information technology. She has more than 10 years of experience in data science and advanced analytics field. In her role as a data science teaching assistant, she has tutored and mentored a large number of people. Mona has also worked as a trainer and has delivered multiple courses in the data analytics area to market professionals and postgraduate students. As part of her volunteering experience, she's a jury panel member for the NASA Space Apps Challenge. This global hackathon community embraces collaboration across borders, sectors, and cultures to bring about paradigm-shifting innovation. It also introduces problem solvers worldwide to NASA's free and open data. Wow, wow, wow. And today she's live here at the Techsters Open Day. What an honor. And then we also have Lizette Spangenberg, the head of design at DBT South Africa. She has over 9 years experience in digital design and 7 years in UI UX design. Liz holds a Bachelor's of Arts and a Master's degree in information design. She's passionate about human-centered design, research, and solving problems. She's currently busy with a PhD, thesis in humanities, has surmounted Mount Kilimanjaro, and plays the violin. So we're really pleased to have her here because she's actually busy with her PhD program and she saved time to be at the Techsters Open Day. Thank you, please. And Lizette is also the co-founder of DXDA, a design community where members get an opportunity to hear inspiring speakers, interact and learn from one another and push the product design industry further. She strives to create beautiful and intuitive experiences on any platform and help others learn and grow in the industry. Lizette is passionate about helping people in design grow. Thus, she writes design concept notes for newbies via her Medium platform. And if you're on Medium, you have to follow her. She speaks at design meetups like the Women in Tech Africa Summit and makes helpful videos on her YouTube channel. As a social service, she was once a UX volunteer mentor for She Can Do, a nonprofit organization that aims to create an inclusive environment to upskill our members in crafting human-centered experiences and building a culture of knowledge, sharing, and empowerment. So we're so glad to be having Lizette, Mona, and Joy Bii on the call today. Hi, Joy.
Hi, Joy.
Hello,
How are
Joy.
you? Hello, honey.
I'm fine. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for honoring our invitation.
You're welcome.
So I'm handing this session over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy, and thank you for that good introduction. Welcome, everybody. Good evening, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. So as Joy has mentioned, we just want to have this industry panel so that we can just speak to these two ladies who have quite a bit of industry experience to just share their tech journey with us and to share some of the nuggets and some of the things that enable them to get to where they are currently. So if I'll just start with Liz, briefly, please, can you tell us about your background and how you began your career?
Sure. Thanks so much for having me here. So I started by studying design at the University of Pretoria here in South Africa, and I initially went into advertising. I really loved the very wildly creative, conceptual side of it, and I really enjoyed working on new campaigns and new ideas. I've always been very interested in the digital side of things and seeing how campaigns and ideas could work in the digital space. And I eventually started to become a little bit disillusioned with advertising, in that we were talking at people and selling things to people, and there was no conversation, there was no input or consideration of the people we were creating things for. So that's what really drew me to UX and UI and product design, is the fact that it's not just a conversation, it's you need to really look at how people want to interact and what they're interested in, and you need to adapt to what is best for them. So that's the part that I really enjoy about it. So I went into HTML and CSS coding at one point. Someone trusted me to push code to production. And I learned a lot of basics of coding, all of that, and then went into a much more pure UX UI role, where I'm now doing much more UX research, and as the head of design, looking at where we place the right people, how we make sure that people are growing in the areas that they want to, etc. So that's sort of how I ended up here. You're on mute, Joy.
Okay, sorry, for a second there, I wasn't able to unmute myself. Thank you so much, Liz, for that introduction. Sure. Over to Mona. Please, can you tell us a bit about yourself and how you got started in data science?
Okay. Hello, Joy, first, and hello, Joy Osh. Thank you for the very nice introduction you've made. Actually, I have bachelor in computer science, and when I first graduated from college, I attended a scholarship in information technology in an institute in Egypt. What was unique about that institute is that it used a blended approach that mixes between academia and business. So it really teach you, or it really gets you introduced to what business really needs. And apart from or in addition to the technical skills that it's teaching you, it teaches you how to be a professional, what the market really needs, how that some other soft skills that is really important. So this institute or this scholarship has made a great shift in my career, in my starting the career. I then worked at this institute as a trainer for a few years, and then I noticed the rise of data science and how it's becoming booming, and the future was being led by data science. So I realized that I would love to join this career. And there where I started to learn about data science. I did most of my learnings was self-learning. I attended a lot of online trainings. I attended a lot of courses, watched YouTube videos, and downloaded books. And I started studying. And luckily, during the same time I was doing this, the institute opened a department for data science, and I joined that department. I worked there for a few years, and then I moved to industry, and I worked as a data scientist, and then a senior data scientist, where I am now.
Oh, wow, that's terrific. Thank you so much, Mona. And that's quite a journey that you've had. And I think we'll talk a bit about it more later, but it's really good to see the initiative that you had, and even reading up on it, even before the institute had the data science track. Thank you for that, Mona. So if you can go over to the first question. So I'll start with Liz for this one. You mentioned a bit about how you got into advertising and how that was your segue into the world of design. But even before that, what made you interested in a career in technology? Why not law or medicine or anything else?
I've always been very interested in creating things for people and that human interaction with people, which is strange because I'm an introvert. I get tired very quickly when interacting with a lot of people, but I really enjoy the knowing that the things that I'm creating, it's in some way helping people. So whether you are creating a banking app that is making it easier for people to deposit their money, or whether you're creating a game that is, adding some fun to people's lives, technology is a very interactive platform, and not just in the form that, someone might be entering something, physically interacting with it. It's the fact that if they don't like the way that something is structured, they'll go to a different platform. So you need to really understand the people you're creating for and really take them into consideration. A word that gets thrown around a lot in product design is empathy. And It's a stereotype, but sort of for a reason. You need to empathize with the people you're creating things for and really take into consideration how they want to use things, how you can actually add value to their lives. So that's what's always drawn me to technology and to design, is the fact that you get to create and you get to come up with ideas and think how you can actually utilize this to mean something to people.
Wow, that's interesting, and it's interesting to see that you had that passion right from the beginning. That's really great. Over to Mona. You've mentioned your how you got interested into data science. You've told us a bit about the first role that you had. So can you just give us a bit more details? How was it like in your first job as a data scientist? Was it a bit of a culture shock from what you learned in school, or were you very ready and prepared for it?
Well, I consider my first role in data science as two roles. Now, the first role is starting the data science as a trainer. That was one thing. And the other part is starting data science as a market practitioner. So both are my first jobs in data science, one from an academia perspective and the other from a business perspective. So I would really like to talk about the business one, because this is where what's really important for how to start a job. So actually the transition, it wasn't easy. It was very challenging because after a lot of years and studying and teaching and so on, it was the first time to work with a business in a business setting. Actually, it was full of learnings. I learned a lot on so many aspects. I learned how to tackle a problem, how to look at data, how to handle your stakeholders, how to make value, how to add value to the organization. And I learned that this is what really matters, apart from all technical stuff that we all technical people are excited about, and we do like complex modeling and a lot of coding. That's really good, but this doesn't make money. So what's really important is how your very complex, sophisticated model is going to add value. That's what I really realized and learned in business settings.
All right. Thank you for that. That's actually a really great lesson to learn, how to take the thing you're passionate about and the like educational part of it and figure out how you can be able to earn money from it. Just a reminder to the audience, in case you have a question, please post it in the chat. Then we'll be addressing that as we go on. Please remember to keep tweeting and posting on your social media handles. Please use the hashtag Women Techsters Open Day so that we can spread the word around about this. Thank you, Mona. Over to Liz for the next question. You've shared with us a bit about your journey in design. So maybe you can tell us what are some of the most significant milestones that have stood out for you? And also, if you had any challenges, please tell us what they were and how you were able to overcome them.
I'd say one of my biggest milestones was seeing an app that I'd worked on in the App Store for the first time, and really just knowing that real people that I'd never met were interacting with it. It's such a proud moment just to know that real things are happening. And if there's one that I can specifically think of, we worked on a chatbot application for a insurance client. So you could take out car insurance through the chatbot. And it was such an interesting and strange experience designing for a chatbot, because unlike just general, whether it's forms or whether it is a onboarding flow or dashboard, which there are relatively standardized ways of designing for, chatbots are still a very new field. And it's very difficult to decide exactly how to do things without standards. So there was a lot of testing. And then actually to see, to get the numbers back and to hear how many policies had been taken out through this platform was really, really exciting. Now, if I think of challenges, I actually did a talk last year about challenges as a woman in tech, and the title of the talk was "Let Me Explain That for You." And I think we've all heard something along those variations. The irony being that it was a woman who was trying to mansplain things to me. And I think there've been a lot of frustrating interactions through the years. And one of the big things that I realized is it's not just sexism as in being treated differently as a woman. I've also often been treated differently because of my age. Very often people would dismiss me when I was younger and tell me, oh, but you're junior, like you don't know what you're talking about, or you're fresh out of varsity, you don't know. And yes, there are lots of things that I didn't know, but when you are younger and you haven't been jaded by the industry and by clients and projects, you do have a very unique way of looking at things. You haven't been stuck into standardized ways of working. So if you are younger, I would say, like, definitely, or new to an industry, if you've changed industries, don't let anyone ever dismiss your ideas just because you don't have 300 years of expertise behind your belt. It's important to know that your experiences are valid and your opinions are valid. And there might be a reason why the more senior person wants to do something in a specific way. Try and understand that. Try and understand why it might be better than your idea, but your idea might make them think differently. So I think a lot of frustrations through the years, sort of having to fight to be taken seriously. There's also the stereotype that, you know, I'm just a designer, we just make things pretty, which is of course not the case, as you all hopefully know. And trying to get people to understand that there's a really objective scientific method that we follow when we are doing heuristic analyses, trying to find the best ways for websites and apps to work, looking at accessibility standards, etc., and yeah, just really constantly struggling to have my voice heard. So now I try and be that advocate to actually encourage other people to find their voices.
Wow, I can definitely relate to feeling like you're being dismissed, especially when you're younger and you're just starting out. I think you can very easily get intimidated and like abandon your point of view altogether. But it's very important that you mentioned that you remained confident and you continued speaking out. And even now you're guiding other people and continuing to encourage them to speak out. So maybe if Mona can just chime in on this. Have you faced any challenges, especially since you're in data science? It's more of a mathematical field that is not really having many women. Have you faced a lot of challenges and how have you dealt with them?
Yeah, well, definitely, yes. I have faced a lot of challenges, but luckily not similar to what you have faced in terms of people dismissing my opinions and so on. Actually, I was lucky enough to have to always have people around me who are encouraging me, motivating me to speak out and to let me feel that it's okay even if you mistaken. So it's okay. We all do mistakes because we are humans and this is part of what we are. And actually what's really important is that you accept that the fact that you do mistakes and you do not like lose confidence in yourself, or you say, oh no, when I speak, I always say like wrong ideas or things that are not correct. So then I'm not gonna speak again. Absolutely not. So you will need to speak in order to learn. So I was always being motivated by my managers, my leaders. So that's thankfully I'm lucky for. But I faced challenges of different nature. Like working in data science actually needs a lot of skills, and those skills, part of them, they are from like interdisciplinary areas, sciences. So for example, you will need mathematics, statistics, you will need also development skills, programming. You also need to be a very good on the terms of personality. So you will need to be a very good presenter, communicator, and a lot of skills. So how to balance all these skills, how to acquire these skills. So you learn these by experience. So that was the challenge: how to handle your stakeholder, how to resolve conflicts, and so on. And what was really challenging is how to communicate your technical ideas and your very sophisticated models to just non-technical audience, to decision makers, and how to convince them that this very sophisticated model that you know nothing about will really make a lot of value and will really make a lot of money for your organization. That was really challenging. And I say that it's art. It's art that you learn how to do this.
Oh, that's great, because you've actually preempted my next question. So you've mentioned some of the skills like presentation and communication and even managing your stakeholders that are important to succeed in your career, aside from the technical skills. So other than those ones that I've mentioned, which other ones would you say are important soft skills to have, and how have they differentiated you either from your peers or from other people in your field?
Okay, well, I think as you know, soft skills are really important. Now, technical skills are important, but soft skills are even, it's not as important as, but also it's more important than technical skills, because companies hire for attitude. You can teach people how to learn technical skills, but changing one's attitude, that's really difficult. So I've learned to be flexible. I've learned to accept the change, and this is really important for anyone to succeed, not only in data science but in any business settings. You need to be flexible, because flexibility gives you room to learn. When you are flexible in accepting the change, flexible in accepting tasks that are different, things that you haven't done before. Flexible in taking like bold decisions, getting out of your comfort zone. This is what really differentiates you, because like most of the people, they stay into their comfort zone. So what 90% of the people will do, if you did it, you will be just as all other people. But if you did something that is different, something that is really different, you will develop and you will make a difference. So I learned to be flexible. I learned to accept the change. I learned to be communicator. I learned to be positive, and positivity is really a very good talent that you need to have, because you find people around who are just complaining about everything, about anything. So it's how you see things, how you want to see things. So either you see things positively, so you look at like the full part of the glass, or it's like you're just complaining and bringing up all the negatives. So being positive is really also an important skill that people need to learn in business settings.
Wow, that's fantastic. Thank you for that, Mona. If I can go back to Liz, there's so many ladies on the call, and even gentlemen, who are looking to start their careers either in design or in data science or in any field in technology. And what would be some of the top 3 skill sets that you'd say are important in becoming a career, in pursuing a career, in UI UX, or in becoming a designer?
So I agree with Mona on the points she was saying, that you need to have the right attitude and the right mindset when you start a career in technology, whether it's design or development, data science, any of those. And one of the things I'd say is the most important, in my opinion, is being inquisitive. You need to be curious. You need to constantly want to learn and know more. We will never know everything. And the moment you think you know everything, it means that you don't know everything. So it's really important to continue to learn and to continue to attend talks and conferences, because that way you learn about new topics, you learn about new techniques, you learn about new ways that people approach things. So that curiosity and that desire to constantly learn more and know more, I'd say that's really important. Because with that attitude, you can go and learn all the technical things that you need to do. If I think of design principles, those are things that you learn and that you practice. And the more that you do it, the more comfortable you become with identifying what makes a good design, what is the right spacing, what is the right hierarchy, all those sorts of things. That comes with practice. Yes, you can be more naturally inclined to it or not, but with enough practice, you will get there. So I'd say it's important to be inquisitive. You also need to actually enjoy the field that you're in. It doesn't help you go into technology because you think you might make a lot of money there. There are lots of jobs where you can make a lot of money. You can make a lot of money as a lawyer, but I think I would struggle to argue with people all day, although we do sometimes do that when, you can't agree with what the next product should be. I think it's all about just mindset mostly, and trying to figure out how you as a person can motivate yourself to get there. And I think it's also important to remember to take time for yourself. I think it's very easy in our industry to burn yourself out very quickly. So you need to find that balance between learning and working, and also having time for your family and your friends, because that is really still an important aspect. You can't be creative, and you can't come up with great ideas if you're constantly exhausted and haven't had the time to properly eat or sleep, or just relax and have a glass of wine with some friends.
I agree. Definitely, I agree. It's very important to take care of ourselves and try and balance the different aspects of our lives, even as we pursue our careers in technology. That's really great. Over to Mona, if I could just ask, so there might be some people in the audience who are looking to go into a career in data science. What would you say are like some of the first steps in becoming a data scientist? And what are some of the roles out there for someone who wants to pursue data science? All right, I think she needs, okay. Go.
Okay, because I wasn't able to unmute. Okay. Okay, so speaking of the, I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? It's about, yeah.
No worries. I'm asking, what are some of the first steps in building a career in data science, and what are some of the roles that are available for a career in data science?
Okay, so the first step is it's just capitalizing on what Liz said, is don't go for a career because you want to make a lot of money from that career, because this is the mistake where a lot of people do for data science. They think that since data science is the sexiest job in the 21st century, and then they're going to make a lot of money, then let's start in data science and so on. So you find everyone learning data science. So you need to see whether or not you like this science. You need to understand that you're going to put a lot of effort and you're prepared for that. And if you see your passion about data science and you really want to learn about data science, then you will need to have a couple of skills. You need to learn in some basics of mathematics, statistics. You need also to learn some programming skills. Machine learning, that's from the technical side. From the personality side, given that the data scientist is not a person who just sit on a PC or laptop or just do coding and so on, no. He also does a lot of communication with the stakeholders, presentations to senior managements and so on. So you need to be confident enough in talking, speaking out, public speaking, in presentations. You need to be a good communicator, visual storytelling and so on. So those are the skills you need to have. So this is one thing. And about the roles that you have in data science field, now, you can start as a data scientist or a data analyst. Those are the basic two roles in the data science specifically. However, there is like a greater umbrella of data analytics where you can start as big data engineer, information architect, business intelligence developer. Those are all related roles, tightly related to data science, but they are not in the core of the data science. They are like in the analytics umbrella.
Oh, that's really great. And if I could just pick up on what you mentioned on some of the technical skills like mathematics and statistics. So is it possible for girls and women who don't have a background in mathematics to build a successful career in data science? Or for somebody who is moving from another background, is it possible for them to be a successful data scientist?
Definitely, yes. And actually, I've witnessed a lot of success stories, a lot of not only women, but also men, a lot of people. They were actually not in the IT industry at all. They were working like pharmacists. So I actually have one of my colleagues, she's sitting beside my desk, and she's a data scientist. She's really talented, and she's a pharmacist. So yes, it's definitely possible. If you love this field, you will definitely excel in it. And yes, it only depends on what do you need to do in order to reach your targets. So, for example, if you are if you are already IT in the IT industry and you already have a background and you are well educated on how to navigate things and understand some technical terminologies, then you only need to. I believe that you can do this by self-learning. You don't need to pay a lot. You don't need to attend like a master's in Harvard and so on. You just need to. Now online courses have made learning easy for everyone, so you have a lot of resources that you can learn. However, if you are someone from outside the IT industry, like something that is not related, what I do recommend is that you attend a program like a diploma, micromasters, or whatever program that teaches you about data science, because this will make it like a smoother landing on the data science job and will make things easier for them.
Wow, that's really good advice, and I agree with that. It's definitely possible as long as you have the right mindset and you know the skills and the things that you need to do in order to upskill yourself to be where you want to be. So thank you for that, Mona. If I can just throw the same question over to Liz, what would you say are some of the important technical skills to have as a designer? And I know there's this stereotype where we only think product design is in the technology space, but in what other industries can we find designers?
So if you think about it, everything that is not natural, as in plants or the oceans or so on, is man-made. So a table is designed, a house is designed by an architect, a bridge is designed by an engineer. Pretty much everything in the world is designed in some way, whether we call these people designers or not. The way that we work within our working environments is designed, as in we design the team that forms part that we're working with. So that then becomes service design or customer experience design. There are so many different aspects of design, and product design can also be in the physical world. So literally, if you look at these things behind me, like that chair, the table, these are products, physical products that have been designed. We tend to design digital products, or if you're lucky, you might work on some very cool technology where you start designing for televisions, or where you start designing for smart watches or smart objects, or all the really interesting futuristic technology that's coming up. So definitely a lot of industries where product design is featured, and I'd say that there isn't really any industry where you wouldn't find product design, as in UX UI design. If you think of all of the big companies that are quite well known, like Microsoft, Facebook, Zoom even, these are products that have been designed, and they spend a lot of time and money perfecting it and thinking how they can change it. I'm sure all of us that have started attending a lot more online meetings from in the past year since the pandemic hit, Zoom has changed their interface quite a bit. Microsoft Teams has changed their interface quite a bit. Because so many more people were using their product, they were able to do a lot of iterative testing and to see, oh, actually, let's change this and this and this. So you'll always find product design anywhere where there's good interactions, quite frankly. Sorry, what was the other part of your question?
What would you say are the 3 top technical skills that you need to know or to have to be a designer?
So there are different aspects to product design. One of the big ones is research. So the ability to do research is a skill on itself. And you, as Mona also said, you don't necessarily need a degree to be able to be a designer. More and more, we're finding that there are a lot of courses and a lot of ways to gain knowledge without needing a formal degree. One of the things that a degree does help with is research, because that is quite ingrained into academia, but you can learn that in different ways as well. So research is a very important skill to really understand the people you're designing for, to understand what the target market is, what people want to do with it, and also what's feasible from a technology and a business point of view. It doesn't help you're designing something that can only physically be made in 500 years, because then we have a problem. Other skills, visual design, so user interface design is also quite important, although those roles can be split. Those are things like what colors to match together, what fonts should I be using, what hierarchy, what font sizes, what the spacing should be. So visual design, quite important. And then on the other side, the part that I really love as well is looking at information architecture and wireframing, really understanding how this information that you need to show. So if you're thinking of a website, the way that you're going to structure the different tabs, what needs to go where? If someone needs to sign up, where do they need to click? Is it logical? So really mapping out that logic of how that works. It is quite a skill to figure out how do I relay this information in a way that developers can interact with it and understand what I'm trying to say before we actually get to the final point. So prototyping becomes quite important at that stage.
Well, that's quite interesting, and I can say I for one have been able to see the kind of intentionality and the thought that goes into designing a product. So luckily, I've been able to work on some of the products in Microsoft, like Teams and Outlook Mobile, and just to see the kind of thought and the intentionality and just the kind of scientific process behind positioning everything from a button to the unmute button. It's amazing to see like how deep the world of design is, and I think more and more people need to learn how to appreciate that.
Definitely.
Right. If I can now go over to Mona. So we know that you currently work as a senior data scientist. So what in your day-to-day role, what would a typical day look like for you, and what is usually the most exciting part of your role?
Okay, so as a data scientist, now you as a data scientist, apart from being a senior or a junior data scientist, because when you are the more senior you are, then you have more management roles that you lead a team of people and so on. So I speak about the other part, about being a data scientist. So how is the day of a data scientist look like? So actually, part of my work is that I develop end-to-end data science models for the stakeholders. So I go through the whole process that whenever I was requested by any of the stakeholders, oh, Mona, we have a problem that we want to, for example, predict customers who are going to churn the next year because we are losing so many customers. So we want to understand why are these customers leaving our organization and how can we retain them, for example. We want to know who are leaving, for example, who will leave in the future. So those are type of questions that the stakeholders come with. Actually, they are not always that clear, but you tend to have a lot of discussions with the stakeholders to understand where is the problem, why do they think this problem exists, and so on. And then you start to think how to tackle this problem from an analytics perspective, what data you need to look at, do you have this data or not, sanity checks on the data, and so on. And then you go and bring the data and do some analysis and build your model and test your model to make sure that everything is all right. And then you develop your presentation. And here where you will need your soft skills part, how to tell a story, a technical story to a non-technical audience. And you are going to get back to your stakeholder or to senior management and tell them, okay, the problem is in 1, 2, 3. And in order to solve it, you need to do 1, 2, 3. And the whole thing, this is one part of the day-to-day role that a data scientist does. And there is another part also, because this part usually takes time. So for example, you work on a data science model on average in about 3 months, for example. So there is another stream that you need to serve or to work with, is when, for example, some of the stakeholders come for you for a quick advice. They need like, I need to take action. My sales are dropping consistently, and I need to know why. I need to understand why. Then you're not going to tell him, okay, wait until I'm going and I wait about like 3 or 6 months because I'm going to build a sophisticated model and so on. No, in this case, you will need to do like a very quick analytical piece to tell them why is this happening and to save the business. So this is another stream that you will be working on, quick analytical pieces. And then a final thing is that for all the models you have developed and you have shared with your stakeholders, you're going to give them a continuous support on this. They might come back to ask you questions about why is this happening, what action I can take, and so on. So basically working with these 3 parts, this is the day of a data scientist. You definitely don't work on the 3 parts on the same day, but sometimes it goes on and off on the 3 parts. Yeah.
Wow, thank you for that very, very detailed explanation. I think it's helped quite a bit of people who have expressed their interest even in the chat in data science. Now, if you can move on to Liz, for you, what would a typical day look like as a product designer? And personally, what is the most exciting part of your role? Or to unmute, I think you'll get assistance with that. There we go.
Yes, thank you. Every day is pretty different. It depends on where in the product cycle you are. So for design, we usually try to be 2 to 3 weeks ahead of the development team so that by the time the devs actually want to pick it up and start coding it, we've already designed it, we've already tested it, usability testing, so to actually put it in front of people that will be using it, to check our assumptions and then fix any possible issues so that we can hand it over to them, they can take it and they can run with it. So they would have seen it prior to actually working on it, given us inputs, etc., etc. So at any given day, it might range from doing research, which could be competitor analysis, trying to understand what is currently working or not working on a client's website, doing interviews, talking to people about the way they currently use systems or want to use systems or how they use competitor systems. Sorry. Then it could also be wireframing. Usually when we're working on a feature, you might be doing some wireframes, creating interactive prototypes that you can share with the team, and going back to fix some interface elements on another feature that you've already completed. Maybe something comes back with business rules that have changed that you need to make some changes to. You'll usually have a meeting with the team at least once a day, just to check in where everyone is, if anyone's struggling with anything, if anyone's stuck on anything, just to get some feedback on what you're busy with, and then to see how we can solve those issues. And then also if there are any burning issues, maybe something, if your app is already in production, maybe a burning issue has come up where they suddenly find that half of the people can't find the sign up button. So now you have to quickly go and see how can we change this so that the devs can quickly change it and implement it before we carry on with things that might not be quite as high priority. So every day is pretty different, just the way I like it, keeps you on your toes. Yes, so it really depends on where in the stage you are, and also whether you're working for an established client where you're building onto existing products, or whether it's a startup, so you're working on a completely new system from scratch. Because that way you don't have to integrate with the legacy technology, which tends to make it easier if you don't have to try and find workarounds for things. But it really depends, and that's the fun thing. You know that every week will be pretty different to the last one, because every time you start on a new feature or a new product, you get to start the cycle again, and you get to go through that whole process again, which is actually quite exciting.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. I think also for me, the most interesting part of my job is the fact that it keeps changing, and every day you have different things to look forward to. So it definitely keeps you interested. So thank you for that, Liz. On to the last round of questions before we move to the chat. For Mona, as part of your bio, we heard that you currently are a jury panel member for the NASA Space Apps Challenge. So maybe you can just tell us a bit about that, and if you've noticed any increase in the number of African women specifically participating in such hackathons.
Yeah, actually, I've participated as a jury panel member in a couple of rounds in the NASA Space Apps Cairo. NASA Space Apps is a NASA-led initiative that allows for coders, developers, technologists, and many other people in different ages to collaborate on aeronautics data to solve problems related to Earth and related to space as well. So yes, definitely, I noticed increase in number of ladies joining these hackathons. But what was really interesting and significant for me is the increase in the number of young ladies, like school girls, who are participating in such hackathons. I was really impressed to know that secondary girls or secondary even boys, they form teams and they participate regardless of whether or not they made it to the final stages. But the idea is that those people are aware that there are hackathons and there is technology, and they're learning to code and to do something that adds value. That was really interesting for me.
Oh, that's really great to hear, and it's good to see that more and more, especially younger girls, are taking interest in hackathons. And I think it's a very good opportunity for them to grow and just to try and see and explore and see the different things that they can be able to do and the skill sets that they can learn. So I'm glad to hear that. The final question for Liz. As we began this session, you mentioned a bit about some of the mentorship work that you do and that you're very intent on helping other younger designers, especially to just learn the craft and to try and speak out. So what would you say, or how would you say mentorship is important, especially to the growth of people who are just starting out their careers or they're newbies in tech?
I think mentorship is really important because it helps people to have a bit of a safety net almost to fall back into. Without that, you're very much blindly walking around trying things and through trial and error eventually find your way. But if other people have already figured this out, or at least parts of it, it's really helpful to be able to rely on them just for some guidance. It is still important to learn on your own. You can't rely on this person to be your personal guide through life, but they can be there to help guide you, to say like, yes, that's a great idea. Do a bit more research in that. And I've found it really helpful in my life. I've been lucky to have some really great mentors that have helped to point me in the right direction. If I was interested in an area and I didn't really know where to get started, they could tell me, oh, have a look at this course, go and read that book by this designer, and just to get you started on the journey and to point you in the right direction. Or if you're doing something, they might point it out and say, I've noticed in your designs that you have a tendency to make your spacings too large. Like, go and have a look at the apps that you really admire. Do they do the same thing? You would go and look and you're like, oh, no, they don't actually. So why am I doing that? Small things like that, where people can just help to point out things that you might be blind to yourself. I've found that really useful. So I really enjoy being a mentor for other people, where I can help to point out, things that they are doing really well in, where they can continue growing, and areas where maybe they don't realize that they still need a bit of growth in. So as the head of design at our company, that's a large part of my role. I'm in charge of our graduate program, and that's something that I really enjoy. So I get to take these amazing minds with these really crazy ideas that they come up with, and it makes me so excited to see what they're working on and how differently they're thinking. And I can give them tips and pointers of the things that I've learned throughout my career that they then don't have to go and figure out for themselves. Certain things they do have to figure out for themselves. It's just the way of the world, but I can help them along in certain areas. And through that, it also just inspires me to see the really cool work that the next generation is doing, quite frankly.
That's very cool, and that's very great. Thank you very much, Liz and Mona. I think I've really enjoyed getting to know you and just hearing your story and just having this panel session with you. So we have maybe in the next 5 minutes, we have a couple of questions in the chat. So I'll just direct them to you, then you can answer them as briefly as you can. We'll just continue with you, Liz, since you're on my screen. We're currently live on Facebook, so we have a question from Facebook, and from a lady called Chauke. She's asking, which path would you advise a graphic designer to follow?
So as a graphic designer, I would say go and have a look at the Interaction Design Foundation. They're a world-renowned company with lots of famous designers that have contributed to their learning material. And they have lots of little short courses that you can do. It is a paid-for subscription, but so go and have a look at that. I think you would need to learn about research and about structuring wireframes and information architecture, that side of things. So spend time trying to think the process of how you get to a solution. Graphic design tends to be about the final output, the beautiful poster or packaging or whatever you're designing. Think about the process and document every step. Why did you make this decision? Why did you decide to use this kind of layout? Why did you decide to use this kind of flow instead of that? It's that thinking that people want to see when they hire new designers.
Wow, thank you. Thank you for that amazing response. We have a question for our wonderful data scientist from a lady called Priscilla. She's asking, she's saying that she's a teacher and she's very interested in data science. Please, can you give her a bit more information on online courses or anything, any link that can help her achieve her interest?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, there are a lot of, as we mentioned, a lot of learning portals. So for example, I would name few of them, but I'm sure that there are a lot more. So for example, learning things like statistics and mathematics, I would recommend Khan Academy. Also for learning programming related skills like SQL or programming, Python programming, I would recommend DataCamp. And for learning machine learning, I would recommend AndroNG YouTube channel. That's really very good about a very good introduction for machine learning. And if she wants, or if anyone would like to enroll like in a program, I've crossed by a MicroMasters offered by MIT. It's quite expensive, but maybe someone would be interested in data science, and it's really amazing.
Wow, thank you for that response. I think we have a more general one. So Mona, you can just continue and take this one. Remy Lekun is asking, how does someone who doesn't have a technical background, and specifically, I think she's asking for front-end web development, how do they know when they're ready to take a job? So I think the assumption here is that she's been reading, she's been doing a bit of learning on her own. How does she know when she's ready to take a job?
Actually, I would say that she needs to move in both paths in parallel, because learning never ends. So she needs to learn to like get the big picture of things, how things are going, and meanwhile to search for a job, because searching for a job is a long process that might take a couple of months. So and she will actually, during the interviews, getting into the interviewing process, learning where she fails, and then she will know that, okay, I need to put more effort on this part, and then she will go back and learn. It's more of an iterative process. So I wouldn't recommend that you keep yourself isolated just learning and then you go to interviews, but you also need to like have the basic skills that you will be asked about, and then you start to do both in parallel.
All right, thank you for that one. I'm just trying to read through and see if we have any. This one is still to you, Mona. So Chioma is asking, currently she's an admin secretary in a law firm, but she's been going through training in SQL and she's passionate about data science. What other skills are relevant with regard to a data analytics role?
Yeah. Okay. As we mentioned, if we are speaking of data analytics umbrella has a lot of roles that she can work on. Speaking of the technical side, she need to, if she has like SQL, she need to learn a bit more about data modeling, data warehousing, and programming skills. So she would become a BI developer or information architect. If she would like to move to data analysis and data science, then she would need to add more on the math and statistics part. So depending on what role she wants to start with, this will tell what other skills she need to acquire.
All right. Thank you for that. I think next we have sort of a long one for you, Liz. So I'll just read it out. The prompt on a Zoom meeting of it being recorded and to continue or leave a meeting when you join, would you say it's a smart contact? If so, I think it contravenes the exception of the exemption clause in contract law. So they're pointing this out because there's no such prompt at registration. And she thinks, or he or she thinks as data scientists, they need to work hand in hand with the lawyers. Maybe Zoom and other apps should consider this. I'd say this is more of a comment and not necessarily a question. So I think I can just.
Well, if I can comment on that, because it does raise a good point. Yeah. That it's so I obviously can't comment on the legality of things being recorded. That changes in every country. But I do think that it's a really important thing that Zoom included, where it tells you before you join a call that this is being recorded, so that you are aware of it. If someone starts recording a call halfway through, there's a voice that tells you this call is now being recorded. And I think things like that are really important, so that people don't feel that they're being tricked, so that you don't accidentally consent to being recorded just by virtue of being in the call. And that actually speaks to an interesting thing in design called dark patterns, where you start to actually make people do things that they didn't intend to. Design can be a very powerful tool, and data as well. It's very easy to use these things for very nefarious purposes. So we need to think of the way that we design and that we create things, and be very aware that some people might not be comfortable being recorded for whatever reason. So we need to be very open about what we're doing in that sense. In the same way with data, you need to be very upfront with people how the data is being used. The ethics around design and machine learning, data science, that's a whole other conversation we can talk for a few hours about.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Thank you for that, Liz. I think finally, I've seen a good one here for Mona. Mohammed is asking if there's a difference between a BI analyst, so not a developer, a BI analyst and a data analyst, and how do you define them?
Okay, yes, there is absolutely a difference. Now, talking about BI is business intelligence. That's part related to reporting, dashboards, visualization, and so on. So BI developer is the one who developed the reports, does the coding, but the BI analyst is the one who's needs more experience, is the one who decide on how the design should look like, how can we form the story. He gathered the requirements from the stakeholders and so on. So he works more towards the design part of the dashboard or the report, while the data analyst is a completely different job. Data analyst is someone who go through the data, analyze the patterns, use some statistical measures to understand behavior, do some campaigns assessments and similar stuff. So yes, there is a great distinction between both roles.
Thank you for that. I'm not sure if there was a part 2. Let me just see. So Mohammed still says that as a data analyst, his tech skills are advanced SQL and BI tools. What are some of the first steps that he should take if he wants to jump to ML models?
I would say he needs to learn statistics. Statistics is it's a key skill that is needed whether for a data scientist or a data analyst. So he needs to learn statistics and then machine learning. Yes, I think those are the two key skills he needs to learn.
All right. Thank you. So I think because of time, I'll just take one last question for Liz, and then we can go back to the main program. So Liz Opeyemi is asking, what is the difference between a web designer and a web developer? And I think many of us have this question in mind. What's the difference between those two, and what are some of the different skill sets? So I think you mentioned as a front-end developer, you did on HTML, CSS. So what's the difference between those two roles?
So as a designer, I don't actually code the designs that get implemented. So I design it, I conceptualize it, I work with the developers to make sure that the designs are feasible within the framework they're using, whether it's React or Bootstrap or whatever it might be, to make sure that it's feasible, but I don't actually physically code any of the elements. When handing over elements or designs to the developers, there are lots of programs nowadays that can give you code snippets. So they can click on a button and it will tell them the corner radius is this. It will format it for them in CSS or SCSS or React, whatever it is that they need. So they can get snippets of that. But I don't actually touch any of that. That's generated by the programs. Now, as a web developer, you're responsible for the front end. So for creating the architecture of how your website actually fits together, it's your responsibility to work with the middleware and back-end team. So to actually integrate into databases, to connect to APIs, etc., etc. So to make sure if there's a form on the website, I just design it, what it will look like. The front-end developer actually goes and codes it and needs to make sure that it actually gets pushed to a database that is accessible. So we think how it's going to work, we make it look beautiful, and then the actual functionality of it being usable, the developers then go and actually create. The teams would work very closely together. And I'd say as a developer, it's valuable to understand design principles. You don't necessarily need to be able to design everything yourself in the same way that designers don't necessarily need to be able to code themselves, but it does help to understand what the other person is doing and just have more or less a background of that.
Yeah, that's really great advice. Thank you, Liz. And thank you so much, Mona, for both of you for joining us. I think we've learned a lot from you. We've enjoyed listening to your story and just getting insights from you today. In case anyone among the audience wants to contact you today, or even later on, would you please share either your LinkedIn name or how can they be able to contact you?
Yeah, sure. I'll share my LinkedIn and Twitter profile in the chat. I believe Nigerians won't be able to contact me on Twitter, unfortunately, but you're more than welcome to find me on LinkedIn. I love having conversations with people. So feel free to reach out if you have any more questions. I'll send the links for you.
Thank you. And I believe Mona will do the same. Yes. All right. Thank you, ladies. I think now I'll hand it back to Joy for the main program. Joy, over to you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joy. Thank you so much, Liz and Mona. That was a very insightful session. Yes, Nigerians will not be able to tweet, but we'll be following you on LinkedIn and other social media platforms. Thank you so much. I believe the attendees have learned a lot. And in case you're just joining us, this was a panel session between Liz Spangenberg, Mona Saleh, and Joy Bii, and it was very insightful. So look forward to the recordings. Check our Facebook page, follow Tech for Dev at Facebook to see the live events for a recap of what you must have missed. And please remember to tweet your nuggets. For those who can tweet, using the hashtag Women Techsters Open Day. Right now, we'll be watching a video by a Women Techsters alumni. And after that, I'll come back with an interview session with Yewande Stella Akinjewe, the CEO of Gesell Technologies. She passed through our program. She's an alumni, and she'll be here live to answer your questions. So do not go anywhere. Stay tuned.
My name is Fatima Ahmed. I'm from Ilorin, Kwara State. I studied chemistry from the University of Ilorin, but now I'm a woman in tech. Getting a job in Nigeria is very difficult. After my National Youth Service program, I was at home for like 5 to 6 months, writing CVs, applying for jobs, and the highest I got was callbacks, which was very frustrating. I was talking to a friend about the difficulties of getting a job in Nigeria, and he was telling me about the opportunities in tech. Coincidentally, at that time, another friend of mine was telling me about how she went to the Nigerian Women Techsters program, where she learned how to code and build websites. Seeing what she could do, I was motivated to apply for the Nigerian Women Techsters program. The training was for 12 weeks. I learned technical skills, building websites, writing codes. I also learned soft skills, communicating effectively, working in teams. It made me more effective in what I do today. Coming for the training, I just felt that, okay, I'll just learn some new skills, then have to go back home to apply for other jobs. But during the training, I started getting a lot of job opportunities, and here I am today. I have a good job, and I am glad I took the bold step to come for the Nigerian Women Techsters training. I currently work as a technical support engineer at Techsters, where I provide cloud-based solutions. I want to use this opportunity to encourage other young women out there who are looking for jobs to empower themselves with tech skills and take advantage of opportunities like this.
With partners like Microsoft, we've been able to train over 2,475 women in coding and deep tech skills across 12 states in Nigeria. And all this training was done for free. Over the next 10 years, we will train 5 million women across Africa by 2030. And we're looking for partners who could join us on this journey.
Okay, so that was Fatima Ahmed, a Women Techsters beneficiary. From a chemist, she has become a technical support engineer, and she's currently working at Techsters. If Fatima can, you too can. So this is just the beginning. The nursery length, keep it up, keep working hard, and the sky will be only your stepping stone. Next, we'll be having an interview, past a chat with Yewande Stella Akinjewe, the CEO of Gesal Technologies. So I'll just read her bio before she comes up. Yewande had her primary and secondary school in Lagos, Nigeria, and she graduated from the Federal University of Technology, Akure. She's a graduate of biochemistry, and she currently runs her own tech company called Gesal. It's an ed tech startup which focuses on simplifying learning for students taking science subjects and thereby increasing their retention rates. The application leverages augmented reality, and she's here today to talk about how she started her journey into tech and how the Women Techsters initiative has impacted her life. Hi, Yewande.
Hi, Joy. Good evening. Good evening, everybody.
Please unmute yourself.
Yeah, my mic is currently on mute. My mic is on mute. Can you hear me?
Okay, as I can hear you now.
No, okay.
Thank you.
Good
Thank you very
evening,
much
Joy.
for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Liz and Mona. The session was really insightful.
Yes, it was. I really learned a lot. So tell us about yourself. How did you begin? How did you enter? Like, how did you start off?
Okay. Well, it was kind of a very funny one for me because I was in FUTA then. I was in 300 level, and I was the vice president of the student union as at then. I love tech, and I had a lot of friends who were into tech, but I didn't know how to get started. And when the opportunity came for me to tell females in school about the programs and, just to encourage people to, apply, I saw that it was also an opportunity for me myself to, get started, since I've always been looking for that opportunity. And I also took advantage of the opportunity, and here I am.
So tell me about your Women Techsters story. I'm aware you're an alumni of the Women Techsters initiative, just as I am. So how did you learn about Women Techsters? I know we didn't have open days then.
Okay, so for the women Techsters, I think my cohort was the first cohort, and I had a friend who was part of the Tech for Dev team. So he was the one who actually approached me about the program and what they intend to train. And as at then, one of the trainings they wanted to do was mobile and web development, and those were very odd things. And everybody wanted to learn about web development and mobile development. So yeah, so those training really caught a lot of attention, including me, because initially I wanted to actually learn about mobile and web. And not until so before we went into training, we had a session where all facilitators spoke about the different skills that will be taught. And one of them was mobile and web, others were games, and the last was embedded system. And when the facilitator for games just came around and showed us an AR app, I said, no, I'm not doing web and mobile. I will be doing games. And that was how I started my career in immersive technology.
Wow. So I want to know how easy was it for you to transition, because you were a transport management graduate and now you're in tech. You didn't have a STEM background. How were you able to cope? How was the transitioning process for you?
Well, it was really tough because immersive technology is a very special kind of technology, even different from all others. Because for you to build a successful AR or VR app, it's a combination of different skills. You need to know how to do 3D modeling. You need to know how to write C#. You need to know how to use Unity and all of that SDK. So it's like a combination of various skills. So for me, I'm very good at collaboration and partnership. One thing that I did was I was able to identify my strengths and try to work with people. So if I have any idea, I just look up for a few people who, for example, I made friends from my team who I know that some of them were very good at some things. And what I did was, come, let's do this together. I know where my strength lies in order for me to build this. So what I did was just identify my strength and work with others to, build anything that we want to build.
Okay, so thank you very much. For those who are in the meeting and hearing us, I'll just pause and say, please drop your questions. If you have any questions for Yewande, drop it in the chat and we'll be attending to them. So Yewande, this is like a final question for you because we're already running out of time already. What advice do you have for women who are unsure about beginning a career in tech, like they don't know what to do and they don't know where to go? Do you advise them to take up group work or start learning on their own, or join a team? Because I know you went through the Women Techsters program and you're able to learn in a community of other women. What's your advice for them?
Okay, belonging to a community is really important, and the Tech for Dev has given us that platform to have a community of reaching out to people who are experts in this field. I think first thing is at least participating and understanding what's happening, and then also identifying a focus, because there are a lot of things and you might easily get distracted if you really don't know what you want to do, and those things might not help your learning process. If you're jumping from one thing to another, it might be quite difficult. So I think the most important thing is for you to first identify what you want to do, and then just be focused, right? Have a clear focus, have a clear goal on things that you can do that would help you attain your tech goal. I think, yeah, that is it from my own end.
Thank you very much, Yewande. So it's time to go over the Women Techsters programs. So the Women Techsters program is centered around 5 different learning tracks. With time, we'll be adding more. And these learning tracks include data science and artificial intelligence, engineering, product management, product design, software development, cybersecurity. And these are the 5 learning tracks of the Women Techsters initiative. We have open days. We have 4 programs. We have open days, which is what we're having now. Every month, women come together to learn about the different tracks they can explore, and to also, learn about the career opportunities in tech and how they can leverage these opportunities to empower themselves to access jobs, to run their businesses, and startup companies like K1 Day that we just spoke to. So the Open Day is a monthly event. Bi-monthly, we have master classes. During the master class, there are professionals that come around to literally hold the hands of junior people in the junior tech space, people that are already in tech, women in tech that have entry-level roles, just to take them deep into several topics that were taught or they've learned before, or they have experience, they're working in that sector, but they just come to learn more and get more experience on certain topics. And it's usually a practical session. We also have boot camp, which is also bi-monthly. So the boot camp is a 2-week intensive training that takes novices from the novice to intermediate level. It's an opportunity for them to develop relevant coding skills, jumpstart tech careers, or even start up their own tech companies. I know many of you might be asking, how do I even venture into tech? So Women Techsters Bootcamp is a very good opportunity for you to leverage. We then have the fellowship, which is actually like the Ivy League of the Women Techsters Initiative. Is a year-long coding program that is executed over a month's period across the 5 learning tracks, which is product design, product management, cybersecurity, data science, and artificial intelligence, and software development. For the first 4 months, they are being trained on this topic, and after that, they go through a 6-month internship with top tech companies across Africa. And after the internship, some of them would get employed, some of them might even get jobs even before the internship program. So the fellowship is actually for people that have backgrounds in tech. So it's not a beginner-friendly program at all. So people that already have technical background and want to build upon it. But for the boot camp, you don't need to have a background. You mustn't study STEM. You mustn't have had a prior knowledge of tech. Just come as you are. Register for the boot camp. All you need is to have a laptop and the right motivation to join. So you can also be a part of the Women Techsters program. So after the fellowship program, our fellows are exposed to advisory support, mentorship. We have a mentorship program, and you can also sign up, even though you are not part of the Women Techsters program, but you just need to connect with a mentor. Details about that will be coming out soon on our social media. We're currently working on the mentorship platform, and then it's going to be launched very soon. So follow us on social media for all this information. The fellows also get exposed to soft skills training. They get exposed to soft skills training. Every week we have someone, an expert in that field, come around to encourage the fellows, take them through soft skills training. So the Women Techsters Initiative have a lot you can leverage. There are a lot of opportunities out there. Even outside the Women Techsters program, there are a lot of opportunities out there for women to harness. But without the right mindset, you would not know, and you might not, you might miss out on awesome opportunities.